So here's the thing. I got the email this time last year. In 30 days, I would be fired. That gave me 3 paychecks worth of runway, nothing in my savings account, a suffocating $200,000 in student loan debt, no job prospects, no health insurance, during the holidays, in a pandemic. Buckle up, because this story is a doozy. Let's get started. Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Corey Wilks. I am a clinical psychologist and executive coach. And on this channel, we explore the psychology of business, creativity, performance, and fulfillment so you can be more intentional with how you live, work, and create. So let's back up a few months. I'd wanted to write online and create content for a while, but I'd let fear stop me. I wanted to make psychology more accessible, right? Because generally, if you want to learn about psychology, you have one of 2 options. You can go to the experts, but most of them are locked away in the ivory towers of academia, or the information they have is hidden behind paywalls and expensive journals that are full of jargon. Or you can do a Google search. But a lot of the information you find online is written by fake gurus selling snake oil, right? So the issue is the experts know what they're talking about, but don't really package their content in a way that is easy to understand. And a lot of the people who package up the content, the gurus, don't actually know what they're talking about, right? So I wanted to be this bridge between, I know what I'm talking about and can talk like a normal person, but I let fear get in the way. It kept me from putting myself out there, from living in the arena. I dipped my toes in writing, but I never really committed to it. But getting fired changed all that. It freed me of all of my excuses because I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. So last year I moved and negotiated a remote telehealth position with my old job. Everything was going great. I could see more patients because all they had to do was turn on Zoom. They didn't have to take off work to get to their appointment. They didn't have to deal with traffic. And for those who were too afraid of COVID to come into the office, it was super convenient. Plus, I could do therapy in my work pajamas because I hate khakis. It was a win-win. I got the 30-day notice in November, which is around my birthday. So happy birthday to me. Which meant no money for the holidays. The company was moving away from telehealth, right? It wasn't anything that I had done, just my job was on the chopping block. The issue was that I couldn't find another job. That's basically because the therapy world hasn't caught up to the internet age. See, the way therapy licenses work, they're based on geography, meaning I can be anywhere in the world, but you as my patient would have to physically be in the state I'm licensed in during the time of the appointment. You don't have to live there. You just have to have your 2 feet on that piece of dirt during that 30 to 45 minute session. It makes no sense. I was licensed in West Virginia, but living in Kentucky. I couldn't find another remote job based in West Virginia. I wasn't willing to move back, and getting licensed in Kentucky could take upwards of 4 months and hundreds of dollars. The licensure process is super stupid, but that's a conversation for another video. And because I didn't work for a medical place anymore, which is where my old job was, I didn't qualify for any sort of loan repayment on the $200K plus interest it cost to get my doctorate. Okay? I felt stranded and betrayed, pushed out of the only nest I'd ever known, doing therapy. This is what I had trained the last 12 years of my adult life to do. But those few months working from home changed my perspective on how I wanted to spend my time. Work used to mean long commutes, endless meetings that didn't matter, miles of bureaucratic red tape, lunch hours filled with mind-numbing small talk, then shambling through the door at the end of the workday, utterly drained. A steady paycheck didn't hold the same sway it used to. It wasn't as appealing because it meant sacrificing my most precious resource, time. But what could I do? I had 30 days to figure out my life and questioned everything I'd built my professional career around. If I found another therapy job, I'd be right back in the same place, dreading Mondays, and drowning in bureaucratic bullshit. So in the spirit of the lean startup, I decided to pivot.
Pivot! Pivot! Pivot!
I knew I was over being an employee. Every job had been the same. Everyone was salaried, so it didn't really matter how productive we were. There was no incentive to innovate, to improve, to create. We got paid the same regardless. I couldn't stand being lulled into complacency by uninspired coworkers and a steady paycheck that demanded 40 hours of my life every week. That left one option. Diving into entrepreneurship with both feet, with no safety net and no business background. The clock was ticking. I had 30 days before the money stopped, and I was left to fend for myself. I'd always liked the idea of coaching. The issue was that all through school, we just talked shit about coaches, right? We were told, oh, as psychologists, you are too good for that. You're not a life coach. You're this, you're that. And it's true, we get way more training. I am not a life coach because the coaching industry is unregulated, right? In order to be a psychologist, you have to go through specific training. You have to pass certain requirements, certain competencies. There's a bunch of stuff. Anybody can call themselves a coach. It takes zero training, zero credentials. So even though I knew I wanted to help people flourish, I never really considered coaching a viable option because of all that shit talking we did in grad school about it. But during that month I had left to figure my life out, I read an article about coaching. Yeah, the field's unregulated, and yes, there are plenty of fake gurus selling snake oil. But then the article said that the lack of regulation was actually an opportunity because people with legitimate expertise, like psychologists, could move into the field and elevate it. Dr. Jeffrey Auerbach was one of the psychologists interviewed for the article, and he explained why psychologists have an advantage going into coaching. He said, psychologists have the most training of any profession in understanding human motivation, behavior, learning, and change. And if they've done clinical work, they have a depth of one-on-one experience far greater than that of people who aren't mental health professionals. Coaching is actually a great fit with what most of us already do. This article changed my perspective on coaching. So I looked into executive coaching programs and got certified because all the professional skills that I had learned from therapy applied to coaching. The main reason I did the executive coaching program was to help me make the mental shift from this pathology model of doing therapy to this wellness model of coaching. Because therapy is about bringing somebody from dysfunction to functioning to help them get their head above water, whereas coaching is about helping people who already function pretty well optimize. I was ready to help people thrive instead of just survive. So after I finished the course, I set up Virtual Shop. I built a website, started offering pro bono coaching sessions so I could get testimonials. I started growing on Twitter and learning every aspect of business on my own. Entrepreneurship, solopreneurship is overwhelming. I didn't learn anything about business in school, so I was starting at square one. Thankfully, through putting myself out there online, I've come across some incredibly generous people. People who pointed me in the right direction of resources on how to build a website, to how to get testimonials, people who helped teach me copywriting, marketing, other coaches, and some people just were supportive. Because when you're doing something brand new, something you've never done, it's terrifying and it can be incredibly lonely. And this loneliness makes you question yourself. This uncertainty makes you question yourself. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with other people who support you and who prove it's doable, right? Anytime I question my abilities, I reach out to friends, to fellow creators, to fellow entrepreneurs. So even if I question my ability, I can look to people who prove it's possible. So through networking with generous people, adding value wherever I can, building in public, and just working my ass off, I've managed to make this entrepreneur thing work. I use my skills as a psychologist to help founders, creators, and entrepreneurs flourish, to build an intentional life so they can do meaningful, purpose-driven work that fulfills them. It's why I started this channel, so that I can share what I've learned along the way, so that I can make psychology more accessible. Freedom is my core value. So everything I do centers around it. Entrepreneurship is freedom for me. I control my schedule now. I control who I work with now. This happened last year. I got fired 1 year ago from the time this video is going to publish. My life has changed irrevocably since then, for the better. Every day as an entrepreneur is overwhelming, but I'll take it. Work used to mean misery. Now, it means freedom and fulfillment. It means spending every day working with inspiring people, exploring my creativity through writing and creating content like this, to meeting badass people like you, and going to bed excited for what tomorrow holds. I don't dread Mondays anymore. So the next time life forces you out of your comfort zone and fear threatens to paralyze you because you don't know how you're going to make it, remember this. Like a bird being pushed out of its nest, you have two options: fall or fly. You can't go back to your old life. Will you give up or rise to the occasion? Humans are built to adapt, and adaptation happens when we face adversity head on, up and away. All right, everybody. I hope you found this video valuable. Let me know in the comments what adversity you faced head on and overcome. Until next time, take it easy.